Yeah, baby. Melisa Valdez, the Celtics. What's your official title? Celtics on court report.
In arena host.
In arena host. There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I know that this is something that I've seen your stuff. You love what you do. You have a passion for it.
I do.
This is something that you've always wanted to do. Something.
Well, I kind of transitioned into it a couple of years ago. I come from a dance background, and I used to be a performer, traveling and touring. So then I transitioned into hosting, and got an opportunity to work on another project. And then a couple of years later, I got an opportunity to work with the Celtics, and I love it. I love using my voice to empower people. I love being a part of an incredible organization, such a historic organization, and bringing the energy and bringing all the vibes, that was needed. So that is fun. Yeah, I do have a lot of fun.
You definitely, when you go out there, you have a look that draws eyes to you. So like a lot of places have the in arena type of hosting situations, and they look like almost like another sports reporter type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a guy in a nice suit or a girl who looks like. They just don't. They might do a great job, but visually their vibe doesn't match the position. But when you go out there, you're almost drawn to be like, oh, what's that girl gonna do right now?
Well, thank you, because I do have a lot of fun with my fashion. Thank you, Ramiro. No, you know what's the best thing is that they allowed me to be myself.
Yeah.
When I came in, it wasn't like you got to be in this type of uniform or this and that. And coming from a performance background and understanding what it's like to be on a stage and entertain people helped me for this moment. And I just love fashion. So I'm like, you know what? I don't really go out like that outside of that. So that's my time to shine. And I feel like for me, every time I get on the stage and I grab a microphone or I'm dancing, that's a performance for me. So I have to go full out.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun. So now it's, like people are like, what is she going to wear next? What is she going to do this and that? So it's been fun. And I, again, like being able to just be myself, being able to really represent our culture, coming out with the big hair and just being me. That's what makes it even better.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born?
Okay, I was born in the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. Moved to the United States when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So I've been raised here. I'm not from Boston. A lot of people think I'm from Boston. It's home now. I've been here for 18 years, but I lived in New Jersey and I went to high school in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it was you. Do you have siblings?
I do have siblings. I have an older sibling and some younger siblings in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So, and then we moved. We ended up in Massachusetts because I already had family living here. We just wanted to be closer to family. And then we've been here ever since. So Boston is home. I love it here.
And it was you grew up with both your parents, just one?
Just with my mother, single parent household. Shout out to my mom for, really instilling what hard work is like, and I think that's where I get my work ethics from. My mother worked multiple jobs, making sure that my older brother and I had food on the table, had good clothes to wear, and she's always just inspired me to like go after my dreams. I've always wanted to sort of get into entertainment. Dominicans, like the arts and music and culture is in our blood.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to do something in that space.
And you started doing it as a young kid, like dancing and stuff like that?
Yeah, dancing was my main love.
Yeah.
At one point, I wanted to be a singer. I just wanted to be on TV, when I was younger. And so I got to dance in school, and I was part of the drama club, and just was always involved in something. Coming from a single parent household, my mom didn't really have money to put me in like training or classical training or, but I always utilized my community resources and whatnot. And I was always trying to be involved. I'd had friends coming over my house and we'd be making up dances in like our living room and stuff, There's the Destiny's Child and, Janet Jackson and all these fun folks and whatever. So I always knew that I wanted to be a performer of some sort, and dancing was like the main thing. So when I finished high school, I decided that I wanted to take up dancing as a professional career, and that's when I really started going on auditions and whatnot.
It's funny. I was on a podcast the other day, and I was talking about like this, why I'm doing this podcast, and I said I like people who pursue their passion, and a good way to tell that somebody is doing their passion is as a little kid. Were you kind of just doing it on your own? So, like, by example, like kids play sports, right?
Yeah.
And they dream of hitting the home run to win the game or the winning touchdown or whatever. What else do kids do when they're little? They dance. They grab a microphone and start singing. They pretend to be on the radio,
Yep, I definitely pretended to be on the radio too. And it's so funny, even just like being in these types of studios. Like, I remember me and my stepsister when we were younger, we were in the basement recording ourselves on the boombox, you know, when you could just hit record and talk over it.
Exactly.
And acting like we had our own show. So it was like, you know, it was just so much fun to aspire. You know, you would see somebody that you admired on TV. You know, I always say that if MTV was still a really fun thing to be around, I would be all over that.
Hell
like,
yeah.
You know, the VJ season, oh my God, I just wanted to be that, you know. So it's fun when you just sort of have it like naturally in you.
Yeah.
I didn't know what my future looked like. I just know I enjoyed doing it organically.
Yeah, so you're going on auditions to dance and all that stuff. And what was your first big break?
Yeah, so I did a lot of auditions now after I moved to Massachusetts. My mom, we wanted to move here originally for family. And I would say, man, Massachusetts is kind of boring. You know, our family's from Milford, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, man, there's like nothing in Milford. But I'm going to go over there because this is going to give me an opportunity to be closer to New York City. And I could just drive over there for auditions and whatnot. And I remember just kind of like printing out directions on MapQuest back then when we didn't even have GPSs. Well, I'm really showing my age now,
like
right?
8 pages to look through. And you're like, did I go 3 miles yet?
Right.
I'll
Turn
guesstimate.
Here, you're like, where? Which block?
Yeah.
But I would like just venture out. You know, I learned how to find my community in Boston, you know, the city life. And I would drive from Milford 40 to an hour stuck in traffic if there was any type of auditions or anything like that. I drive with my best friends. You know, if we would hear of an open call in New York, we'd just like get on our car or we would get on the bus back then, the Funghua.
Yeah. Fun
If you know, you know.
Yeah, it costs like $2 and you're
literally. And
we might not get you there alive, but if we do, you save money.
Thankfully, our bus never broke down, so we were good.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would make it to auditions. We would audition and drive back to Boston like the next day to make sure that we were at our 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah.
So it'd be like falling asleep in the middle of the highway, but we would make it and we made sure we were there. But my first like big break, I would say, was when I got an audition with the R&B singer Joe.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah. So we went on this audition, and I worked for him for a couple of years, traveling.
Yeah.
And that was dope because my mom loved his music, and so did I, you know. And
but Joe did... I guess he had a couple of more upbeat songs. He did. Okay, because I think of all his bangers were all slow jams.
Right. We were jamming to it. We had choreo to everything, you know, slow or upbeat, and that was a fun experience with him. And then after that kind of just opened the doors to doing, you know, more work in like the industry with different artists. I did some reggaeton stuff too with some artists back in the days. But I think that the most exciting artist that I worked with was another person who I didn't even know who he was at the time, but it was like one of the best opportunities of my life, Elvis Costello.
Okay.
Who is a huge, you know, rock and roll legend.
Yeah.
And I got that opportunity because I was a go-go dancer in the Boston nightlife a couple of years ago when like nightclubs were popping and you would see all these dancers performing and stuff. And someone said, hey, there's this artist coming into town. He needs a dancer for the day. And I was like, man, I was working like 10 jobs at the time. Yeah. The hustle is real, you know, when you're like trying to live your passions and be on the road all the time and like try to search for these dreams, you got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So I remember working retail jobs because it was flexible and then asking for time off if I had an audition or something and I'd be tired, like no sleep. I was working nightlife at the time, dancing and stuff. And then I'd have to wake up at 6 o'clock the next day to go a job. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go and dance for this. It was at the Wang Theater.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, just even being here, this is such a beautiful experience, you know. And they loved me. And I had never heard his music because it was a little bit of a genre that was not my.
Yeah, it was like it's like more old school rock.
Yeah.
So when you're auditioning, did they just play one of his songs and you just?
Well, I didn't have to audition for that one. It was through a word of mouth. They knew I was a good dancer. That he needs because his theme at the moment was sort of this production that it was like a 1960s vibe.
Yeah.
So I come in as kind of like the Foxy Cleopatra, you know, like the Austin Powers type of thing. I'm like in this cage dancing, you know, very old school stuff, hippie vibes, and they just play the music and I freestyled. And they were like, oh my God, you're so good. Where have you been in all our tours? And basically what they were doing was grabbing a dancer in every city that they would go to, and they kept me on. So right after that, they're like, we still have 3 weeks left of our tour. Would you come with us to New York? And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that means I got to quit my job, my retail job. What should I do? And I remember trying to figure out if I wanted to lie to my boss or like, you know, I don't know. I was just like, I needed security.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I like tell her I have family? Like, I just didn't know what to say. And
I'm sick, but I'll be better in 3 weeks.
Just in case if that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I just told her, and she was like, girl, go. And I was like, here we go. And best decision I ever did. I went on this U.S. tour with them for like 2 weeks. They flew me out. They put me, they treated me like I was part of their team, and it was a great experience. And then from that, I continued to work with him for about 4 years. We traveled the world. I got to, see all these different incredible countries, and it was just one of the best experiences I've ever, and I got to appreciate being on the road next to such talented and legendary artists, because they're older, but you'd get to these countries and there's like thousands of people waiting for them outside of the airport, and I was just like, damn, I'm really part of this. And it was a great experience.
So you were traveling with like the entire crew and everything?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how, so now, did they provide you hotel and all that stuff too?
Yes. That's why I stayed, because I'm like, I'm part of the band. Okay. And it's not just like a crew thing. And they just treated me really good. And I got along great with everybody. And I became part of the family. And he gave me a great opportunity that really took my skills and talent to the next level. Yeah. And I got to learn something new, and I got to discover all these incredible countries because of this artist that gave me an opportunity. So once that production, with the spinning song wheel, which is basically had this big wheel on the stage, and he would like spin it, and we'd get audience members to come on the stage. Whatever song it would land, he would perform it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was really fun. So once that production was over, my time was over with them too. But every time he comes to Boston to do any shows, I still go out and go to the shows. I still keep in contact with them, and it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. So when you were going to the other countries, did you have time to kind of just explore and do the tourist thing?
I did. Yeah. Some it was a lot of back-to-back. So when we were in Europe or like England, it was easy to just like get on a flight and go to another country. And I never had the opportunity to. I did go overseas with Joe in a couple of countries, but like being able to just like get on a train and like go to Paris in like 2 hours was like, I'm taking advantage of this. So on my days off, I utilized it to like travel and explore. We were staying at all these beautiful hotels. Like I remember, and they knew that this was new to me. Yeah. So they would support me all the time. And I remember one day we were in England somewhere, and I was like, I have family in Spain, in Barcelona, and I was like. And there was another friend of mine who was there. I had never been to Venice, and I told him, guys, I want to go visit Venice. Yeah. And I found out that you can just get on a plane and be there like in less than 2 hours. And I went to Venice on my day off for the day. And I said, wow, like this is incredible. And they were like, we can't believe you're over there. Have fun. And they paid for my flight, and they just said, yeah, go have fun.
And you're just going by yourself?
Yeah, I would go by myself. Or if I knew that there was a friend that was, in the area, I'd be like, meet me here. And we'd go and we explore it together. I would go and visit family. It was just, the good old days.
Yeah. I went to Venice with my wife, and we stayed in a castle, like to the point where the key was like them old school, like the key was this big to the room. Oh my God. Yeah, you had to like stick it in the hole. It was a legit castle.
What an incredible experience, huh?
Oh my God, I loved it.
Like visiting castles and things overseas is a whole different level.
Because you see the oldness of it and how, and I don't understand,
and the history behind it too.
Yeah, so you have all these, old structures and all that stuff that lasts forever, right? Yeah. Somebody builds a house now, it might last them like 10 years before it starts breaking down.
I know, it's crazy.
You would think it would get better.
I know, hear you. Wow.
Okay, so you're doing Elvis Costello.
Yep, so I'm dancing for a couple of years. Now that's over, the tour with him. And then I come home finally, because I was just on the road for a lot of years. And I'm like, okay, what now? Being a dancer and auditioning and trying to work with big artists, it's hard to do when you don't live in New York or LA or here or there, because it's hard. And if you're not training every day, and there's a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was good, but I wasn't the best. Yeah. So I just knew, like, I need consistency. Like, tour money has ran out already. All the bills have been paid, but now I need to get a job. And when I came back, dance fitness was becoming a big deal. Zumba and all of that. I was like, oh my God, I can take dance and fitness and make people feel good. I want to try to be part of this wave. And I became certified, and I started getting into that field now. So I started going into the dance fitness world and focusing more on like teaching people how to dance, teaching people how to feel good in their bodies, and I started getting opportunities. I was part of an upcoming boutique fitness company that was really great. We did an impact in the community. And my whole theme throughout that time in my life was just, how do I utilize my passions and which is dance, which I love, to make somebody else feel good, to help somebody build their confidence. I was doing private dance classes. I was also starting to do, the group fitness stuff, and worked at a couple of different gym clubs and whatever. And it was just great, seeing people smile after taking my classes because there was a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a very like judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
Like, come in, let's just have a good playlist. Let's just dance and grow to be our best selves. So I did that for a couple of years. Later on, I got an opportunity through a really good friend of mine's to host a dance competition at Red Bull.
Yeah.
That's when they were starting Dance Your Style about 5 years ago, the first one in Boston. So they asked me if I wanted to host. I was like, yeah, why not? I've never really picked up a microphone, but it's dance. You know, like I've been in this community for a long time. I also danced for Funk Phenomena too, like earlier in the year. So that was like my whole Boston, and that's where I learned a lot of stuff. And so when I got the opportunity to host Dance Your Style, it was a hit, the first show. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of really good on the mic, hyping people up. I just like to call myself a hype woman. I don't have training as a journalist or, you know, as an analyst or anything like that on the mic.
That, though.
But I was like, okay, I could do this.
Yeah.
Then they started hiring me every year. And I was like, oh. And it's just so crazy because when you put yourself and people see you and you don't even know that you have this talent, then people started reaching out. Hey, would you be interested in doing this opportunity? And I'm like, yeah, I was just saying yes to everything.
Right.
I was saying yes to everything at this point because I started building, you know, a little confidence, and I was feeling good on the mic, and then it just went off.
It's funny. I actually heard the phrase this week. They said, when opportunity knocks, you have two choices: say yes or say yes. And that's what you got to do because you never know.
Absolutely.
Especially in this line of work, you never know something that you do that somebody might see and be like, oh, you know what? I might take that person. And I'm not telling people not to go to school. However, there are certain lines of work where, look, I'll put it this way. When I got on the radio, my whole thought process was, why am I going to go to college? And if I could just figure out a way to get in it now, in 4 years, when somebody's graduating college and they've read books on radio and maybe interned and maybe practiced at the college radio station, if I could get in now in 4 years, I'm gonna have 4 years of actual experience of doing it for 4. So that's what I did. So and that's why one of the reasons I think I progressed really, really quickly early on is because I kind of just jumped into it. And you're like, oh, I never hosted or anything, but they threw you in there and you figure it out.
Sometimes you just got to bet on yourself and take a risk. And that has been literally my entire life motto. Yeah. Just saying yes to things and like really believing in yourself, because until you try it, you're not going to know.
Hell yes.
How you not going to know until you actually try? So for me, it was like, all right, if there's a person that actually, like, you know, when it's always been, I've been recommended to things because people trust me. You know, and every time I do any type of quality of work, I want to make sure that I'm remembered because I went in there and I did a good job. I respected myself. You know, I left a good impression. And that's what people know of me. Any gig or anything that anyone has ever recommended me with, I make sure I went in there and made them proud. But most of all, made myself proud, right? Because now I'm like, damn, if you would have said no, this would have never happened.
Right.
And so there has been definitely a lot of opportunities in my life where I said yes to something that I wasn't sure if I was going to.
Yeah, you tried.
I was like thinking, and it worked out. So people start to notice me now on the mic, and they're like, hey, we would like to hire you for this and that. And I remember getting hired actually for one event, which is more of a community nonprofit event. So it's a little bit more subtle, you know, other than being this hype woman, but it's like reading in front of a teleprompter. Yeah. And it's more, you know, a little bit more professional and stuff. And I went and did it. First time reading in front of a teleprompter. And I went in there and acted like I read in front of a teleprompter. Yep. And I was like, damn, I'm like, this is my first time and it's working out. That worked out. So now I have teleprompter experience.
Yep.
And I did a good job. And I remember thinking, I'm like, wait, I always thought I had never been in front of a teleprompter. And I always thought, like, how do you catch up? How do it goes so quick, you know, the sentences and the script and stuff. And it's like, no, it's keeping up with you.
Right.
And so I'm literally learning all these things live.
I bet you that you're like me. If you had a preference of teleprompter or no teleprompter, which way are you going?
It depends.
Oh, really?
I mean, I like freestyling, and I think it's nice to just be yourself. But it depends on it. Now that I've kind of have seen, you know, what the experience is like, it depends what it is. It is nice to have a little like backup just in case, you know. But I think later on when I had other gigs that had a teleprompter, half of the time I wasn't even looking at it.
I am.
I was like, I forgot it was there.
I forget about the teleprompter. I did a show called Community Auditions, right? It was like a talent show, hosting it, and they had me hosting with this girl Christine, and she came from like TV, sports reporting and stuff. So she was very used to a teleprompter.
Yep.
I hated the teleprompter.
Okay, yeah.
So I would not say stuff on the teleprompter, and then we go back, and she'd get mad at me because she'd be like, yo, you got to read the teleprompter so I'll know when to jump in. And I said to her, I go, I'm going to teach you how not to use a teleprompter. Right. So every time we went out there on purpose, I would never read the teleprompter and just have a conversation until we finally gelled.
Right.
And we figured it out. And I said, you know why? And this is my thought process is, what if one day that damn thing freezes?
True.
What if one thing they're like, yo, it's not working today? You have
Absolutely.
you need to, and you know when you notice this a lot, if you ever watch the news, right? You watch the news, they read the story. And then usually right before they go to commercial or right before the end of news, they try and have a little back and forth BS ad-lib conversation.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, it's mad awkward because they don't know how to have a back and forth because they don't have the teleprompter.
Knowing how to imprise,
yes,
knowing how
need
to connect with whoever you're there with is something that I have definitely learned as well because you just need to know. You never know, especially being on live TV, you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So you got to know how to like keep that going.
Okay, so now
now I'm on the mic. I'm getting my experience as a host, and then that's starting to become a passion. While I'm doing that, I'm also still have a full-time job. I'm also still grinding in other things, but I'm starting to really love this side, new passion. And of course, dance is still my number one love. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, dang, how do we take this to the next level? Now I'm starting to like promote myself and let people know that this is something that I do. And then one day I'm hanging out with one of my best friends on her balcony. It's like 8 o'clock at night. And the same friend who recommended me for the Red Bull thing has been working at the Celtics. He's the DJ, Breck One. Really good dear friend of mine. He's just a person that has always like seen my talent and really believed in me, right? Like he would never plug anyone in anything if he didn't think that they could do it. Yeah. And he has for me, and I'm really appreciative of him for that, for believing in me. And he sends me a text. He's like, I just pitched you to the Celtics.
Wow.
And I'm with my girl. I remember we're in her balcony. Literally, it's like dark outside, and we're just, chit-chatting. And I'm like, is this what I think it is? I show her the phone, and I'm like, I don't want to get too excited. This is during the pandemic, too. This is like, the pandemic is maybe about to end or something. And I was like, hey, okay, let me know what are the next steps. Is this for real or not? He's like, yeah, stay tuned. And he's the type of person that would just like, when he says something, it's going to happen. So I don't want to get excited. Let me know what you need. He's like, I'll keep you posted. 3 days later, he's like, send me your work. Send me, videos, whatever you have. Mind you, at this time, I don't have a website yet.
Yeah.
I don't have reels. I just have like phone clips from different things that I've done. So I'm trying to like go through my phone, and I'm like trying to put this, Dropbox like file together to submit to the Celtics. And I just have like stuff from Red Bull, little things here and there, of all these little gigs that I've done. I even send them group fitness stuff of some of the work I've done, because I think that's also helped me out just in general of how to like get loose and like bring energy to people, because I've been like empowering folks for years now in spaces through dance, through movement. And I'm like, I can talk to a large crowd. Also, I've performed in front of thousands of people as a dancer.
Right.
So I'm like, how do I combine all of this and just like, now this is like the new chapter of like the Melisa Valdez story, as I like to call it. And so I start sending him stuff, and every week there's a new update. All right, we've submitted the stuff. Next week we got a meeting. I'm like, damn, this is really happening. And I'm quiet about it. Nobody knows except my girl that was there at the time. I don't want to say nothing. I don't want no bad juju. I'm just praying every single day, like, God, if this is for me, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen the right way. And then finally we get on a meeting. I'm like, okay. So this is through Zoom. I'm at home, and I get in, in a meeting with the entertainment team. And I'm like, hey, y'all, like, what's up? And I'm like with energy. And then, they really just loved what they saw. That we hit it off really great. They really loved the energy that I brought. And I was just like, listen, I'm a big Boston Celtics fan. Boston is home for me. But y'all need some culture. You guys need some flavor. And I think I could bring that. So, like, when do we do this? And I was just like myself. We were just chit-chatting. And they're like, okay, well, we really love your style. We'll see what happens. I think they might have been interviewing other people. I'm not sure what happened at the time. Yeah. But you can feel like a good connection at the time. And then 2 weeks later, every week was an update, a background check. And I was like, okay, it's real. If they're asking me for a background. And then it was so funny because even when I hadn't had a background check in so long, that usually happens for corporate jobs and stuff. And I don't know, the smallest things were coming to my mind. I said, what if I fail the background? I mean, I don't have a criminal record or nothing, but I'm like, I don't know. What if I like fail the background check over like credit or something? It, like the smallest.
Yeah.
I was like, if I don't get this because of a bad background check, or I don't know, your mind starts to wonder. And so, anyways, the background check happened, and I passed it. And they were like, we're interested. We'd like to offer you the job. Can you start on December 2nd of 2021? And December 2nd is my mom's birthday.
Get out of here.
Whoa.
That's a sign.
And I was like, yes. And I remember looking at the email because it took a couple of weeks. Everything's like so spaced out. And they gave me the offer, and I cried when I saw that thing. And I was like, damn, here we go. Still kept it quiet. I didn't say nothing, only to my like close friends. I was like, here we go. Day one, we were still masked.
Yeah.
So I did my first game. We were still masked. And I remember going into the arena, and it was just tension all over my body. Yeah. I was so tensed. I was so scared. I was so nervous. I've performed in front of thousands of people, but being live with a microphone and speaking in front of 20,000 plus people for streaming and all this stuff, I did it. They were like, you did a great job. And after I was done, it was like,
Yeah.
Like it was just like this feeling that left my body. I remember my jaw being so tense.
Yeah.
My God, I had never felt that, and I did it, and it was a wrap from there.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful to be accepted, to be, get a great welcome. The fans were really great. I made an announcement officially, like on my Instagram to my peoples, like the next day, and it's like, here's your new, Celtics host, and people were like, oh my God. I got so many messages of community members and people from Boston who were just like, we are so happy that you are representing us out there.
Yeah.
My daughters look up to you. Finally we can see somebody that look like us. And that to me has been like a driving force of this mission of really representing and making that part of my mission, because representation matters. And that to me just is always part of my overall mission and everything that I do is how do we show up? How do we put our people on? How do we make sure that we are there? And it's just been such a great opportunity. My third season now with the, I've learned so much. In the third season, I started interviewing players. And that was a big deal too. That felt like that was like the beginning of a whole nother like chapter. And the first interview that I did, I always talk about this because it's really important to me, was with Al Horford, who's another fellow Dominican, So that was like first interview with one of my peoples, and my family gets to see it in DR through like the NBA, platforms. And it's just been really great meeting new fans and people who are like reaching out and saying just how proud they are of me.
It's funny. Years ago, there was it was called what the hell was it? The Hispanic. It was like an awards, and they gave me an award like for radio or whatever. And
congratulations!
Oh, thank you. And they were gonna honor an athlete, and I was like, oh, I wonder who they're gonna honor. And it was Al Horford when he was with the the Hawks, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was whatever team he was on, like probably like 07, 08. And I remember thinking, Al Horford? He's Spanish? And I thought he was black. Al Horford? But then I was like, oh, he's Dominican. Okay, cool.
I know. Well, it's so funny because being in the team, in the first 2 years, I didn't have that much interaction with the players.
Yeah.
It was very like I came in, did my job, and get crowd engagement specifically. Third season, then I start, connecting a little bit more with the players because I'm interviewing them. And now we have a direct point of contact. Al Horford didn't know I was Dominican because, you're not walking around with a Dominican flag or anything like that in the arena. Only my peoples knew that. But one day I got asked to do a community event, which we do a lot of, and it was in Lawrence this year. And we got to go to a middle school out there where there's, Lawrence, Massachusetts has a large population of Latinos, and they asked me to go there, and Al Horford was going to be the special guest. When we got these, like, oh, I didn't know you were Dominican. I'm like, yeah. So we go out there, and the kids are going crazy. That they obviously Al Horford stand, they weren't crazy over me. They were crazy over him. And then I'm like, I pick up the thing and I was like, ¿Cómo están? And they're like,
Yeah.
She speaks Spanish. And then we're just there talking, letting them know our experience, how we were both from like immigrants, you know what I mean? And straight from DR. So that was really dope that to tell these kids that they could do this. They could be exactly where we are at, that we know what it's like to feel where they come from. You know what I mean? And like there are no limits to that. Doesn't matter your background. 100%. So that was really special for me. And so now he knows, and it's been really great connecting with his family. And they're like, man, you're such in Spanish, it's like, tú eres un orgullo para nosotros. It's like, we're so proud of you.
Yeah.
So that for me, those are the things that matter to me, is like that my family in the Dominican Republic gets to see this work You know, they couldn't figure out what I was doing. For a lot of years, my dad was like, my dad is in DR. He always wanted me to, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be this, that. And I'm like, Dad, that's not my lane. And now he sees.
That's great. I love you. This is what I like. Her freaking. You could like feel the passion, the energy.
Thank
you. You have a beautiful, humble.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. No, I want you to talk. I want the mic to be on.
I was gonna say you have a beautiful, like, humble.
Thank you very much.
Way of telling your story. It's like you're extremely grateful.
I am.
And you can tell the hard work has gone you to where you are, but you're not like, I'm here and this is what it is. You're like, I'm so appreciative for everything. You know what I mean? I just want to say
thank you. Oh my God, that means a lot. You almost made me cry a little bit because it's been a journey. And coming, like I mentioned earlier, coming from a single parent household and, being an immigrant and seeing my mom work so many jobs. Right now, there's no room for failure because I want to be able to take care of my mother. And she has been such a great support system for me over the years. So now just being humble about it and being so grateful for everybody that gave me an opportunity when they didn't even have to. In many different occasions and different phases of my life, not just with the Boston Celtics. This is just like the icing on the cake right now. And everybody that has known my journey from when I was younger to where I am now, they're like, we're not surprised that Mel is there because I've worked multiple jobs and always try to follow what I love, and now Celtics is incredible, but now I'm thinking what's next? How do we get to the next thing, It's been great.
I like the way you're talking about it because I think a lot of people sometimes they forget. They might get really successful at something and they start going, I, me, then I, and you are making the connection that nobody ever gets anywhere by themselves. It takes a team. And if you really look at your life, you start going, oh, wow, if it wasn't for me meeting this person or this person, sometimes it's just somebody saying one little piece of advice to you.
And, I always think about that great experiences and bad experiences make you to who you are today. And I've had them both,
You need that. You need
not
that.
everything has been, great and whatever. I've had to go through struggles. Things have been great at one point and things were not great at one point. I've had to hustle a lot. But those moments when we were, at the bottom and suffering and trying to, going through trials and tribulations is what makes you stronger to get to the next level. And I'm thankful for the great times. I'm thankful for the people that have come into my life for seasons, and that I've gotten an opportunity to meet a lot of great people that I have been inspired by. Who may still be in my life and who are not. But I've learned something from every single person. And so I'm just excited that God has I'm a very spiritual and faithful, my faith is really big. I pray all the time and I'm just thank you, God, because you didn't let me fail. Because there were a lot of times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do this. But, I had my mom in the back no, you're going to do this. And she really pushed me to really just continue to follow my dreams because it's not easy being a freelancer. It's not easy being a small business owner. It's tough, but you got to have a good village. You got to have good people by your side, really reminding you this is not the time for you to give up.
Do you, I feel like the answer is going to be yes. Cause before I get in here, I have a whole, I guess ritual. I don't know what the word is that I do before I even walk in the studio. I meditate, I read, you say,
affirmations.
Yes. Thank you. I'm it's not necessarily praying, but it's like a version of that. Do you do that before you start?
It's so great to hear what you do. Coming for such an iconic person, right? I definitely have gained, done a routine. In the arena, people always see me. I have a little corner that I always go to, and I'm just there. I have to go through my cards and I'm talking out loud. I'm if they see me talking to myself, they know what time it is. No one comes and bother me. But I do like to have a moment to just myself, take some deep breaths, pray, big on affirmations, big on affirmations. Anyone that comes to my house and will go into my bathroom, I have Post-it notes all over my mirror. And I'm you are great. You are effortlessly abundant. All the things, because we need that. We need to talk to ourselves. We are in such a crazy world right now. Especially surviving the pandemic, it's hard. So we need to find the things that can really get us into this moment of greatness, whether that's talking to ourselves and putting ourselves in good positions to do our best. So I definitely have that as well. I try to meditate a little bit also. I definitely want to read more books, so you'll have to recommend one book to me afterwards because I want to get more into reading. I always say that, but I'm very much about just self-empowerment and empowering other people because you need some type of grounding moment before, you go into this big stage. So that has definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah, I feel like she's a female Dominican me for some reason.
I was gonna say, yeah, you guys are really like on the same wavelength.
Wow.
I'm not even joking.
I'm honored.
So many things you're saying, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm not the only one. And I love when I talk to somebody like that because there's a lot of people, and you'll see it. You see people who kind of go through the motions throughout their day, and that I feel bad whenever I see somebody like that because they have a good job.
Right.
They're making good money, but you can tell they're not happy.
Right. You know what? The older I get, the more I prioritize my self-care, because I think that everybody has gone through a moment in their lives where they have been grinding so much, where they have literally been killing themselves. And you see them just miserable, right? You're making money, okay, it's great, but you go home and you're unhappy.
Right.
You know, and you're tired. And you're not getting any sleep, and you wake up the next day like, you know, but it's like, is that really worth it? You know what I mean? Yeah, I want to like have money and stuff, and that's what we work. But like, for me, my sleep is very important now. My sleep is very important. And before it was like, you know, you'd be partying out with your friends and doing stuff, or even just working multiple jobs. And it's like, wait a second, there has to be a balance at some point.
Right.
There has to be a balance, because me, if I don't get sleep and if I don't eat, it's a whole different person. And that, my self-care is really important. I love being home. I love being on my couch, no makeup on, being in my bathrobe. My friends know I have this cozy bathrobe. I just want to be chilling, watching TV, just relaxing at home. You know, having to have a lot of energy in front of people, as you know, you know, it's a lot. Peopling is a lot, because it's like just drains you. You know, even though we love it, even though we're like, wow, man, this is really great to see people smile and connect and react to the energy that you're bringing. But when you go home, you just sit there and you're like, man, I just need some quiet time.
Oh my God.
I just need some quiet time. You know, and it's not to say that I haven't had moments where I've been unhappy. People always say, you're always so happy and so motivated. That's just a natural thing that comes out. But like, I've had my days where I'm like, things have not been easy, you know, but like, if I don't keep this attitude, I'm just so grateful that I've been able to keep an attitude that's always, at least I try to be my best self and show up with like good energy, because it's hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't try to like, motivate your own self, who else is going to do it?
Oh my God, that's literally what I was just going to say, because a lot of people, I think, sometimes feel like they need someone else to motivate them.
And it's nice to get, someone else to say it, but if you don't believe in yourself.
Right, it is. But you know what? I look at it this way. If it gets to the point where someone else is telling you that you need to step up your game or whatever, I'm like, yo, it's too late. You gotta figure out ways for yourself. And it might not be just you talking to yourself. Sometimes you just find something that's going to light the switch a little bit, like the pilot light, and be like, for you, I could imagine maybe seeing something, because this is the way that it is for me when sometimes I feel a little bit, stagnant. I need something creative, and it could be, and when I say something creative, it could be a movie, it could be a book, it could be watching somebody dance, it could be watching somebody. It's almost like me seeing somebody do something creative and them being excited about it reminds me.
I love that. That's a great thing for someone to do. It's like, if you're having a moment, turn on something that's gonna make you happy. Turn on something that's gonna remind you of joy. So I love that.
Yeah, because it reminds you, hey, at the end of the day, I'm doing something that I love. And like I said, there's that person out there who's going, I got a fancy car, I got a nice house, I got this,
and
I got
unhappy
that.
At the end of the day.
Oh my God, they're thinking to themselves, I'm making $2 million, I deserve $5 million. Then they get $5 million, I deserve $10 million. Like, there's never a price that's gonna give you happiness.
Yeah, like I said, the older I get, everything has to make sense. I've been through so many different experiences of trying new things, and it's been fun, being in the gist and seeing the success of it. But it's like, wait a second, is this even making sense? You're not really happy at the end of the day. You're going through all these emotions when you're going home. You're complaining about, what's happening and stuff. You're not really happy. So for me now, having experienced all of that, everything is intentional. Everything has to make sense. I'm no longer saying yes to any old thing like I was before. Everything has to make sense for me, right? Doesn't matter. Yes, dollar signs matter. At the end of the day, like, am I going to get paid enough to go through this? But at the end of the day, is it going to bring me joy? Is it going to make me happy? My sleep, I don't play around with it. Like I said, I want to have good people around me. And if it doesn't bring the right energy, if it doesn't have the right people around me, I don't want it. I don't want it. I'd rather be broke, but happy.
Right.
That's what I always say. So,
by the way, I got to tell people right now, we're taping this the day of Game 4.
Yes.
So that's why we haven't addressed anything as far as the Celtics.
I know.
I'm predicting they're going to win it tonight. But even if they don't win it tonight, by the time this podcast comes out, they're going to be world champions because am I giving bad juju by saying that they're going to be
not. We are manifesting.
No, they're definitely going to win.
We are manifesting.
They're 100% they're going to win.
And I just cannot believe that I am a part of this and that this day is here.
Yeah.
And like that all of us are excited about it. This is something not only for the Boston Celtics, but for the city of Boston. Like to be so excited to see what's going to happen and the way it's going too, because everybody's been talking negative about the Celtics and that they're not going to make it, that they're not going to do this and that. And look at us.
Yeah.
Swept, previously and about to sweep right now.
You know what's funny? I was saying this to somebody the other day. And I saw an article about it that they said this is one of the least hateable teams that is in a championship, because if you think about it, right? Let's go with Kansas City in football, right? All right, they've won too much. We're sick of seeing them. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift,
right.
I hate them because of that. When the Patriots were winning all the time, everybody got mad because they won too much or whatever.
It's always something. Like, how does the world, the media, everything just find something to hate on, and that topic just stays there, that team.
But this team, outside of, if you're from Dallas, or if you're, who would they just be, Cleveland or whatever, outside if you're one of those teams, you really don't hate them because they're young, they haven't won anything yet. There's no polarizing players that you're like, that guy's just a jerk. Like, they're all good dudes.
They are. They are. And like, it's been just so great to be a part of this organization for like a couple of years now, to see the evolution of each player and how much they hold each other down. Like, these guys just like are all leaders. They're all leaders in one way or another, and they're encouraging one another to be their best selves. And I just love being a sideline person and just watching that because it's really beautiful. They all bring something to the table. They're all so good in their respective roles. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is the same, and that's okay. So it's really great to see them all shine when it's time. And tonight is going to be crazy. I can't believe I'm here right now, Ramiro. I'm very excited to be talking about it. So it'll be funny to watch this. But, like, we're going to win tonight. We're going to win tonight. And I'm just so excited to be at the Garden. Shout outs to the city of Boston for making that happen.
Are you still going to be doing the in-arena hosting during, even though the game's in Dallas?
Yeah, so we're doing we've done a watch party on Wednesday for Game 3. Tonight is Game 4, and we're doing it tonight at the Garden again. And it's been sold out, so it feels like the actual game with the players there. We still have performances. We're still, hyping up the crowd, and people are lit. They are amped up.
I can't believe that.
The energy, you would think that is an actual game with the players, but the energy is so crazy. So tonight when we win, I'm definitely wearing sneakers tonight because I just want to be able to turn up when we win.
That's insane. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. I love that they're in this for a championship, but you are not going to convince me to drive my ass into the city, pay for parking, pay for food, so I have to sit in a seat to watch them when I could just be at home. You know that's crazy.
To that, at first I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't sure how that was going to be, but it's fun.
Yeah.
The energy in the Garden felt like an actual game.
That's hardcore.
And I think a lot of people are like, I'm not going over there. But now everyone's like, how do I get a ticket? How do I get a ticket? Because we killed it. Like, we did so good in the last game, watching the players, and we're like, let's go Celtics. And the energy was out of this world. And I mean, people that want to be around that energy, you already know the area is going to be insane.
So what do you do when the season is not in session? Do they still have you go do appearances and things like that?
No, it quiets down. I mean, I don't know what will happen this year.
This season. Well, if they win, you're going to be busy.
They have definitely been utilizing me in a lot of different things. And actually, this season, I was asked to join a show called Celtics Today.
Okay.
That I've been doing with some other incredible sports analysts. Drew Carter, Mag Dacomia, Taylor Snow, and those guys know their stuff. And so they were like, we would love Melisa to join and just bring her energy. I'm not a sports analyst. I'm just a fan, saying what I know. But it was great that they asked me to join them. And, basically I have a segment called Social Time.
Yeah.
And in that segment, I'm talking about like fan reactions, social media posts, and things like that. And it's been a really nice balance because here I am just being myself again, bringing the energy and with a bunch of guys, and they're having fun. So that's been great. That's also a new thing for me. giving reactions to things and commenting, on stuff. So that's also a new thing that I've learned. And I'm like, it's just been so cool being able that they trust me.
Yeah.
That the Celtics organization trusts me and they keep asking me to do other stuff. And I'm really grateful that they see how I have, grown since I started, because I was not the same in-arena host who I was 2 years ago. I definitely feel more confident. I definitely feel like I could bring a different energy now. I definitely feel like I know what I'm talking about way more than before. And it's just a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens after the season is over. I'm sure we'll be, busy with NBA final stuff. But other than that, it's a hustle for me, just personally. As a host, I'm like, who's trying to hire me for stuff? There's a lot of people calling, hey, we want you to MC this, we want you to MC that. But my ultimate goal is I want to land a TV spot with my own show of some sort. We'll see.
Like hosting.
Hosting a show. I'd love to do things, in the world of culture, fashion, music, arts. Like I said, if like being a VJ somewhere, I'd love to work with a big brand. Doing more interviews, more one-on-one interviews, which I think I'm getting really good at. And we'll see where it goes. And that's why I'm just like trying to be involved in a lot of different spaces to continue to learn more and more.
I can see you doing like a Peloton type of situation.
Peloton,
100%.
that's a great one. And we're in such a different like stage right now where like Amazon Music is huge. Like streaming, Netflix, Hulu. Call me. You know what I mean? I'm like, how can I get up in there for a show? I always think about I would love to do a game show.
Yes.
Be on like a big fun game show on Fox or something. That would be fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just like really ready to take it to the next level. I've been doing everything on my own. I don't have an agent, and it's just been word of mouth and people like recommending me for stuff. But I'm like, I'm ready to grind and get to the next thing.
Do you mind? Sorry, one last thing. Do you mind talking about that period you said when you were teaching like Zumba classes, and then it was that time period right before your friend texted you when you were on the balcony? Can you talk about that time period? Because I think that's really important for people to hear how you were hustling way before your friend hit you up about the Celtics. You were dancing and you were on tour, and you got to live this really lavish experience once, and then ultimately that stopped, and you go back and you're teaching at gyms and stuff. Can you talk about how important that time period is? Because for some people, your ego might be a little destroyed, or you might feel a little bit down and stuff because you're like, damn, I was just on tour in Venice. They're flying me out, and now I'm teaching a Zumba class. And I'm not saying you didn't love it, because I can tell you did, but, you must stop for a minute and be like, damn, I got to pivot. But then that opportunity comes to you. So can you talk about where your mindset was at that time and kind of what you did to persevere? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you just said, hey, I'm going to let go of the wheel and let God handle things.
That's real. That is real. I'm happy you said that, because, yes, that's a big like transition, a big like culture shock to yourself. You're like, oh, okay, I was just in Paris 2 weeks ago, getting paid and living my best life, and now it's over. So there's definitely moments where you're like, man, what am I gonna do next? What am I gonna do next? And a lot of days that I cried, definitely a lot of days that my mom was looking at me like, okay, like, are you gonna get a job? Like, are you gonna, how you gonna pay your bills and stuff? All these things. I think I was still living at home at the time because I was traveling so much all the time. And I had to figure it out. At the end of the day, nobody's going to pay my bills. No one's going to pay my bills. Bills are piling up. I have responsibilities. And, I need to secure my future at the end of the day, because working in entertainment, it's not consistent unless you are a big time performer and you're working for Beyonce or one of them big guys. You know what I mean? But it's a grind. So I just had to figure out how to make ends meet. And again, I've always been a hustler, so I'm back now, and I'm like, all right, well, let me figure out how I can still utilize what I love, my talents, because I didn't want to waste or throw away my God-given talents. And I know that dance was that movement, so that's how I just started doing that. And then now I'm in a new chapter of the journey. I was like, okay, people are like responding to me, making them feel good through movement, and that's making me feel good because I can still utilize what I love, right? But I was still having corporate jobs at the time too. I remember working at this architect company as a personal assistant in the North End. Shout outs to them. And that was a funny time because I never go into a corporate job talking about what I do outside of it, But my bosses at the time, they always knew I had a double life outside of there. And they would be like, I was like, hey, I need the weekend off. I need to go to California. They're like, for what? I was like, oh, just some work. And so that was funny. I was trying to hide it, but I was making good money then. And, you know what? At the end of the day, I knew that I didn't want to work a corporate job. I knew that I didn't want to be in a 9-to-5 situation. And then I'm like, okay, how the dance stuff is going well. And I remember getting laid off 3 years after being there, after like still doing the side hustles of dance stuff. And I got laid off. I'm like, damn, what now? At the time, I was helping someone, start a boutique. Everything has just happened.
Everything connects.
Yeah,
somehow.
at its given time. And here I am getting laid off, crying, because I'm not going to have, a solid paycheck. I got to go back to the grind. But there's this incredible opportunity waiting for me, and that needed my full-time attention. So that worked out. And, I think I kept like the ultimate goal always on sight and stayed hopeful. Not completely, because that was over. I'm done. I know that things come for a period of time only, and that things expired. So I'm like, I couldn't just like give up just because the tour was over. I did always have in the back of my head that they would come back and like call me and, all right, we're getting ready to go on tour again. I would like literally drop everything and go with them if that happened, but it didn't, and I just kept trying to find opportunities elsewhere. And it was working out. But you're right about what you said, that, there are moments where people do get discouraged because they're no longer living the life that they had or the luxury stuff that they got to experience. But you can't give up, And I said, if that's what I want, how can I now work to get to that so that I don't have to wait on somebody else to show it to me? And that has been just like my mission in all the years of having to work multiple jobs. And now, right now, where I'm at right now is when I finally feel like I'm really, really giving it my all, really betting on myself. Because for many years, I was doing stuff for other people, other people's visions, coming in as talent. And I felt like I was being used, you know what I mean? Because they knew I was good. But it's like, at the end of the day, this is not even for me.
Yeah.
This is for somebody else. So how can I get back to me and bet on myself? And a year ago, I transitioned out of a 6-year, opportunity that I was working with because it was time for me. And I said, all right, if you're gonna get out of that, you need to go full out. And I said, it's time for me. I remember like making my own website finally. Like, why did I wait so long to do my own website? So little things like that. And that was a big deal to me, doing my own website, just focusing completely on me. I just opened my hands to God and I was like, if you don't give me this, let's go. Because I'm like really, really ready now. And so many great things have been pouring since then.
I'm going to read a quote that this is kind of like answers everything she was saying. It's basically, and I say this to my kids all the time, I'm like, listen, in life, you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Bad stuff happens, keep moving forward. Good stuff happens, keep moving forward. Every day, you're not going to have the energy like to hit it 100%, but as long as you do something every day, it's going to ultimately help you. And I saw this quote the other day. I'm a big quote guy. It says, move the dirt. Training is like moving a big ass pile of dirt. Some days you got a shovel, some days you got a spoon. But as long as you move the dirt a little each day, you're heading towards your goal. And that's what it sounds like you were doing. You're like, let me just.
I like that.
Every day. And the good thing about you having those down moments, it makes you appreciate this.
Yeah.
That
I learned
much
a lot
more
from those down moments. Now, just even how I like carry myself and with the lifestyle that I want to live, just from a self-care point of view of. I don't want to overwork myself, burn myself out for what? For nothing at the end of the day. Like we don't have to live life in chaos. We don't have to always be in urgency and do things last minute and try to multitask and do a million things. It's like, let's focus on one thing that we're really good at. Let's be great at it. And if that doesn't work, let's figure out something else. But I no longer want to live that life. And now I'm just like, how are my pockets full and how do I go to sleep on time?
Do you are you married?
I'm
kids?
very single, so it's been easy. I'm very single.
Oh, okay, because okay, so it's gonna be.
I'm not married, no kids.
Yeah.
Shout out to my nieces and nephews that I love dearly, but I'm single, so it makes life a little bit easier to just grind around. But even that, I'm older and I'm being very particular about people that I want next to me, from romantic relationships to regular friendships. Like those things matter to me.
Okay, because then when I want to see how the personal situation. But right now you're 100% professional.
Yeah,
professional.
I'm single. It's and also it's like the lifestyle that I live and the careers that I'm doing. I need somebody who's gonna be supportive next to me, and that's who's also gonna encourage me to be the best that
100%.
I can be. Because I'm not fully at where I want to be yet. Like I still have so much work in front of me. I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm like at this point where all of that has helped me shape me into who I am today. And whoever's going to be next to me, I want them to encourage me to be best as I will for them.
I like it. Okay, so right now, Celtics in arena host. Any side stuff going on too, or
Yeah, again, I just I consider
open
myself,
to anything?
Yeah, I consider myself a freelance entertainment host.
Yeah.
So people have been reaching out for different things, whether it's to like MC big corporate events. I've been getting a lot of random opportunities via email. I just got emailed about an opportunity that I won't say just yet, but it's like, wow, it's so interesting when people are starting to notice you and seeing your potential. And this opportunity that just came up now is something that I have not done before, and it's one of those like, yeah, let's do it. Again, hosting, and I want to focus on that right now. Again, people keep asking me, when are you going to get back to like dance and more stuff? I love that. That will always be a part of my life. I love movement. I love making people feel good. But right now, I'm focusing on being the next best host of some sort.
I like it.
Whatever the future holds, I don't know. I'm just like, let's just
Dancing
do it.
with the Stars. Saying
That you see what I'm saying? Yes.
I see you. I got you.
Dancing with the Stars. There was this really cool show on Netflix that they did recently called Dance 100.
Yeah.
And like Allie Love, the
Peloton girl.
she's from Peloton, but she was also a host for the Brooklyn Nets for many years.
Oh, get out of here, really?
And now she's on the Today Show.
Yeah.
Now she's doing a lot of great things, and that's been an inspiration of mine. There are so many great hosts out there that started as in-arena hosts, and now they're doing really great things out there and they're giving back. And that's something that I also want to do. If I get an opportunity that's good, but how am I giving back? How am I inspiring, my community?
Mm-hmm. Well, now let's talk about lessons learned, because you were dropping a lot of nuggets. What have you learned along the way?
Oh, so many lessons. You really have to bet on yourself. I think that when you get opportunities to work with other people, you know what I mean? Sometimes you get lost. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily even working with somebody, but sometimes we could just get lost in general and having to accomplish this goal, having to live out a certain dream or a certain mission, and like understand when to stop. Understand when to pause. Like, it's okay to pause. You don't have to be running 100 miles an hour that you completely lose yourself and your sense of being and forget about all the things that you personally love. And I think I did that for a couple of years where I was so like, we need to make this happen. And it affected me. Yeah. Mentally, physically, emotionally, until it got to a point where I was just like, wait a second, I cannot live my life like this. So I would encourage anybody that if you ever feel like you are losing sense of yourself, recharge, like stop, reset and recharge. And then you sort of have this like epiphany moment, like this moment where you're like, wait a second, this is not who defines me. You have to like really believe in and not forgetting what you truly want over someone else. Yeah. So I would say like stay, keep focused. Like, keep your vision, but for what do you want? Yeah. What do you want? Not because somebody else is telling you, not because somebody else is encouraging, but what do you want to do? So I think that's been the biggest lesson for me is like, don't get lost in whatever's. Now it's about what do you want? How do you feel? What is it that you want to bring? And that's how I'm carrying myself now. Does this make sense to me? Does Melisa want to do that? Or is it because somebody's like wants me to do it for them at the end of the day? So I think that's been one of my biggest lessons. Bet on yourself. Like, risk it all, like, at one point, because yeah.
I mean, because they say that people have like a psychological trait where humans, whenever an opportunity is presented to them, the first thing they think of is what could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And they talk themselves out of taking chances before they even start. Yeah. And you can't do it. You almost have to train yourself to say, yeah, but what about when it goes right? Right. If it goes right. Or even if it goes wrong, what I can learn something so I can try again the next time. There's no negative to trying. There really isn't. There's always
going to be a fear factor, a fear aspect of it, of course, because you're afraid to see what happens. People don't speak up really about the things that they want or how they feel. And it's just like, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody can reject you. Someone can say no, but you said your piece. You said what you wanted. You said how you feel. Or they can listen to you and,
Yeah.
So.
Moose Man, you got any questions for Melisa?
No, I just think, I don't know. I feel like you got something really nice coming your way soon.
I think you coming in here was good for Moose, because right now he's in a stage of life where he's a little confused about
I feel you.
What it is that he wants to do next and things of that nature.
Moose, you're going to have to just like take a moment of reflection Write some stuff down.
Yeah.
Write your pros and your cons, and where do you want to go?
Yeah.
Sometimes me right now, it's been like I know where I want to go, but I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to land.
Right.
But I know that I have something. So I did that a lot where I was like, let me get out of my house. I'm going to go into like a workspace, somewhere where I could just be inspired and like really write down what I want to do and then like go after it. This is only temporary, the sense of being confused about what you want to do and stuff. But like, it'll come. And you just have to believe in it. You have to bet on yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to bet on yourself.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So
Do you know what else that you would like of? Because I feel like, again, we're kind of like spirit animals. Do you have a gratitude journal?
I do. I need to start writing more into it. I got into it a lot for a while, and I just haven't had time. But it helped when I was doing it, and I would go back and like read the pages, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's why.
Well, the beautiful thing about it being 2024 is 5-minute journal.
Oh,
It's an app.
yeah. There's a lot of digital stuff now.
You write down 3 things in the morning that you're grateful for. It could be
Yeah.
anything. It could be profound. It could be little. You write down 3 things you want to accomplish for the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the
Mornings
day,
are important.
you
That's
need that.
another thing.
That's part of my routine.
That's another thing. The way I start my mornings, I don't play around with my mornings because, again, a few years back, it was like I was talking about work stuff at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It would completely mess up my day. And I was just like, I'm very intentional about how I start my day. I don't want to talk about nothing that's going to get me in a bad mood before 9 a.m.
Yeah, no, you need to have a certain, like, again, I call it a routine, a ritual, but then at the end of the day is important too. So at the end of the day, you write down 3 things that you're grateful for that
great.
happened that day,
I think I'm gonna start doing that.
and one opportunity, maybe like, oh, I could have done this differently,
Yeah.
or I should have done this, but you do that consistently.
I love that.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like when you have an issue, just talking about it with someone, you feel better. You're like, I didn't really solve anything, but just getting it out,
Yeah.
I feel better about it. It's the same thing.
I love that.
5-minute journal.
I'm going to start trying that. I like the one at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
Because that's when you really get a moment to reflect. For me, when I come home and I just like sit on my couch for a couple of minutes, that could be a good opportunity to do that.
There it is. All right, I know you got to get out of here because again, today's finals tonight, game 4. She got things to do. So Melisa Valdez, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you to the both of you. It's been a really incredible time sitting here with the both of you and just like talking about my journey. All I want to do is inspire, and I'm inspired by the both of you. Remember, I've been watching you for so many years, just being the GOAT that you are.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for being able to share your stories and inspiring me today.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.